Bam! Once again, it's your boy JLM, and this is your wake-up call. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Mario Murillo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on the YouTube channel. People, are you ready for this? I am excited. Today, we have, yes, the one, the only, Allen Danziger, a.k.a. Chainsaw Jerry from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Nothing else needs to be said. Enjoy the show. Doing today?
Never better,
man.
As my brother would say.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the wake up call, Al.
Glad to be here.
God, it's been a while, man, and we've
about a day, I think.
I know, right? Yeah, a lot of people don't know, Al. I mean, I've known you for a while. Jeez, man, it's how long, Al? I mean, it seems.
Oh, maybe 10 years or longer.
10
because
years.
we met, I think, down at the Oasis through my son.
Yeah.
So many years ago when you were, I guess, working at the Gold Company.
Exactly. And then you managed to stumble into the wrestling matches, and you introduced me to the robot guy, and we had him there. So I mean, it's been a long ride. It's been a long road. It's been an interesting ride, and
hopefully,
yeah, it has. So Al, I told you about the wake up call, and this thing is just designed to let everybody know what's going on with you and to kind of motivate folks and to letting them know, man, if anybody can do it, you can do it. So we bring people onto the show. They let us know what the wake-up call is and what their wake-up call was. And in the meantime, honestly, I've got you on there for my own personal selfishness because I've always followed you and you've inspired me and inspired me. And, I figured, hell, let's get Al in the box and let him share some of his greatness.
Well, we're talking not the Cool Hand Luke box. We're talking a different kind of box.
Right.
Okay. All right.
But, so Al, I mean, tell us a little about Al Danziger, Chainsaw Jerry.
Chainsaw Jerry.
Yeah.
Well, we go back, I guess, to 1942 in the Bronx where I was born. And I had a great growing up. I grew up in the Bronx, and then I went to public school, PS 93, then junior high school 123. Yeah. And then I went to the Bronx High School of Science. Oh, okay. So you had to take a test to get in, and I was fortunate enough to do it. And actually, the best friend that I had in high school that I met before I even went there was a fellow by the name of Stokely Carmichael.
Okay.
A lot of people don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
But he started the Black Power movement.
Oh, okay.
And he was a great guy. We were real close. And I think the last year that I was in school with him, he went on some of these marches, or rides and whatnot, and got real heavy into the movement. Yeah. And one of my greatest regrets, actually, is he gave a talk at the University of Texas. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go to see him. And I didn't go to see him. It's one of my great regrets in life that I didn't do it. I just thought that we were so close and, middle class. I was a white guy, and I didn't want to put him on the spot. Seeing me and he's into the Black Power thing.
Sure.
And then, sadly, he died some years ago. I think from prostate cancer. And I'll always regret that I didn't go. Whatever would have happened would have happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So I went to school. I went to City College, and the last year of my senior year, I really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I remember sitting in the library. It was like a kind of a dreary day like today.
Right.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I needed to leave home.
Right.
Because I was almost 21. I didn't know anything about life. And my mom was a very strong-willed woman. And you didn't mess with her.
Right.
And so I'm sitting in the library, and this fellow, and I remember his name, Roland Chabot. That's like a movie matinee type of name. And he said, "Allen, why so glum?" And I said, "Roland, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I want to go or what I want to do." And my major was in psychology at City College. He says, "Well, what about the University of Texas?" I says, "What?" I says, "I don't know how to ride a horse. I've never been in a posse.
Sure.
I mean, I watched Six Gun Playhouse as a kid.
You don't know about the Cowboys.
I don't know anything."
Gotcha.
He says, "But they've got a new program. It's not that difficult to get in." So I said, "Okay." So I applied, and as luck would have it, I got accepted.
Yeah.
And so I went to UT, and actually got a master's in social psychology,
Okay.
and met a professor who took a liking to me, and he talked me into going into social work.
Oh.
So as a result, I switched and got a master's in social work.
Okay.
So I'm a double master.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And then after I graduated, I started doing social work. You know, for about
Okay.
for about 10 years.
Really? And where did that take you, Al?
It took me to where I started some programs. I worked at a place called the Austin Travis County Mental Retardation. Back then they used that term, mental retardation. And I started some programs. And actually, one of the programs was like an offshoot of the Big Brother program. You don't know about this
No,
stuff,
no,
right?
no,
Right. So you're going to learn some stuff. And it was called the Big Buddy program.
Okay.
And it was for, you know, we work with kids that had Down syndrome, but also a lot of kids that were from disadvantage and got labeled as retarded, but no, they just lacked the opportunities.
Gotcha.
So it was a real successful program, and I had a lot of volunteers, you know, helping me. I went to University of Texas to one of the professors, Dr. Byrne, who had twin mentally real handicapped kids, and we raised money to buy a bus so we could take kids on trips and stuff like that. And
Sure.
we did campouts. We did campouts with them. So I mean, it was really just a wide-ranging experience, you know, for me. And then I met a couple that were volunteers in my program. It was a couple by the name of David and Amy.
Okay.
And Toby Hooper was doing a movie. His first movie turned out to be a movie called Eggshells. I'm meandering, but we'll get to it.
Exactly. No, no, no.
And Eggshells filming, and so they met me through David and Toby said, Alan, we'd like to film. We'd like to film some scenes with you. And at the time I was married. My son was 8 months old. So they came, they shot some scenes, and then they kept adding stuff, you know, for me to do. I guess they liked me. They thought I was funny, so to speak. And so it turns out I'm in the movie. My wife at the time, Sharon, is in it. Jason.
Yeah.
And
I remember you showed me the picture of Jason
in the bubble
movie.
car.
The bubble
But
car.
they blew up that car. At the end, that car
Wow.
They blow up that car.
Okay.
So the movie comes out. I think maybe 30 or 40 people saw this movie. It went nowhere.
Okay.
And I didn't hear from Toby or anybody, you know, for I guess about 4 years. And then lo and behold, they call me and they say, Alan, we wrote this part for this movie. We'd like you to play this character, Jerry. So I took the script home. I read it in about like an hour and a half, and I said, I'm in. Let's do it.
And what was the script for, Al?
It was for a movie called the working title was Leatherface or Head Cheese.
Okay, head cheese.
Head cheese, which I never had. I didn't know what head cheese was.
Right.
I thought something came out of your ear or something like that. But as it turns out, since I've had it. I like it. So I signed up, and the movie took about, I guess, 6 weeks. It was shot, I think, in the summer of 1973, July. And it was like a 6-week shoot. And it was a great experience for me. I had no idea what would happen with this movie.
Sure.
And while we were filming different scenes, I got to meet a fellow by the name of John Henry Falk, who was like a raconteur, wonderful guy. And I'd listened to him on the radio in New York. And for me to meet him and be on location with him, it was like a dream come true.
Sure.
For me. But as we shot the movie, I mean, people will say, I mean, it were rough times because it was brutal, and being in that house, it was like 120 degrees. They had bones, and the food that they had was rotting. I had a ball.
So this was actually on the set. Experience.
The rough part was, you know, on location driving. I was the driver, and in that van it was like 110 degrees. There was no AC, and after several different takes or whatnot, the girls would leave the trailer, would leave the van and go into the trailer to get their makeup done,
right?
To get their hair done, redo that. And I'm watching this, and I said, "Hey, they got a good thing going. Okay. I'm gonna try it." So after one of the takes, I slip out. No sooner do I get into the trailer and sit in the chair, Dottie, the makeup girl, comes over to me and she says, there's nothing we can do for you. Alan, that's it. Get out of here.
Okay.
So that was my experience in the trailer. But the rest of the time, the only time that I think, and even a lot of the lines in the movie were lines that they said, make it up.
Just ad lib.
Just ad lib,
Okay.
exactly. And most of the funny lines or whatnot are my lines, So they kept it in, which was amazing.
Sure.
And as far as acting, I would say my death scene, when I get killed. Mm-hmm. And I sat out on the porch and I had them blindfold me, mm-hmm. so I could really get myself. That's my nod to the Stanislavski method. A lot of people don't even know that. So I worked myself up into a tither,
Okay.
And they yell action. The blindfold comes off. I had not seen Leatherface prior to my death scene. So I go into the house. I mean, you've seen the movie.
Yes, yes.
I'm meandering then I go into the kitchen. I see the hook. Then there's the freezer rattling.
Yeah.
The freezer opens up, and then she kind of pops out.
Right.
I turn, and then I see Leatherface.
Yeah.
I'm freaking.
Yeah.
So I go zooming out of the house, at breakneck
Sure.
speed. And then Toby yells, "Cut!" Comes over, puts his arm around me, said, "Alan, that's a great scream. But you got to wait for him to get into the frame."
Into the frame.
Yeah, with the hammer.
So you're a little bit premature on the scream, huh?
Exactly, premature.
So evidently the surroundings did what they were supposed to do to you.
So we had to do a few cuts. I'm still freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? They got a couple of the grips to get behind me. Mm-hmm. So just as the hammer is coming down, they pull me down.
Okay.
So I don't take the full blunt force
Right.
of that shot. But we're talking almost 50 years later. I'm still getting headaches. So that's
And for
the
those
story there.
that didn't understand, you are talking about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre movie, correct? Al?
Exactly.
Okay,
And it's funny that here we are almost 50 years later.
Yes.
I mean, it's like unbelievable that I would take
Yeah.
my 15 minutes of fame and stretch it for almost 50 years.
Yes.
I'm applying to the Guinness Book of Records for this.
I mean, Al.
Yeah.
And Al, I mean, a lot of people, I know quite a few folks, and when things pop up about horror movies or horror history, I've known you for quite some time, so I've collected my memorabilia, personal shots, this and that.
Right.
We've got the casino wheel in the background.
Yeah.
But I'll show people these pictures, and they're like, my God, that kind of looks like the guy in Chainsaw Massacre. I go, no, it doesn't. They're like, yeah, it does. The guy in the blue van. I'm like,
No, green van.
the green van. And I'm like, you think? And I'm like, kind of like this. And oh my God, what is that, Mario? And that's Al Danziger. So it's kind of funny because, that was 50 years ago. And
it's even bigger now. And that's funny because tomorrow I'm going to be a guest of honor at the premiere of the brand new Netflix Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay. And where's this going to be, Al?
It's sold out.
Okay.
It's sold out, but it's at the Alamo Draft House on South Alamo, which is right down the street from me. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to show that. Then they're going to have an intermission. Then they're going to show the new Netflix. And then the director, David Blue, is going to be answering questions about it. And then, so that's tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I'm going out to Kingsland at the Grand Central Cafe, which is where they moved the house that most of the magic took place.
Right.
And it's now a wonderful restaurant, and it's like a destination.
Full stop, yes.
In Kingsland. And I talked to the owner of the bar, and I said, hey, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Sure.
To have myself and Ed Neal, while we're still vertical, to come out to Kingsland, and he said he loved the idea, so it's going to happen this Saturday, and I think they're going to show the Netflix movie outdoors, so it's like probably be festival seating, and then we'll be out there signing autographs.
And I know you do quite a bit of appearances out at the gas station out in Bastrop.
Some months ago, I was the guest of honor at a Texas Chain Saw heavy metal wedding. Mm-hmm. And the bride walked down the aisle with a sledgehammer, and the groom had a chainsaw.
A lot of fans out there.
Yeah. So that's also like a destination, and they put cabins on there on the property, and they have barbecue.
Impressive place. I know the owner as well.
Right.
Good guy. I've been there, went to a couple of times as well. We had a lot of fun. tell me, Al, I mean, from the time you started to present, did you ever think it'd go like this for you?
No, no. I mean, I think back to just sitting in the library in the Bronx and knowing that I had to change. You know, otherwise I wouldn't have grown up. I wouldn't have had experiences. I love my parents, but my mom especially, they were pretty controlling.
Sure.
You know, my mother wanted me to become a dentist or a doctor.
Okay.
I came close. I became a patient. You know, so.
Sure, man, sure.
But I just knew that I had to grow up in so coming to Texas, of all places, was the best thing that happened to me. I met a lot of wonderful people. I mean, who would have thought that a kid from the Bronx would end up in the cult classic Texas Chain Saw Massacre?
And right here in Austin.
Right here in Austin.
Right here in Austin.
So I love everything that, that's happened. But along the way, there are different things and travails, I mean, I went through a divorce.
Gotcha.
I went through depression.
Yeah.
And
Tell us about that,
I went through some heavy times, where I guess you would say you lost your footing. I'm basically a happy kid.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've had a happy childhood. But just all of a sudden things started going south for me. Yeah. I had too many things. I had my 3-ring service. I had a bed and breakfast. I had different properties, and I was going 24/7. And it ended up taking me down. And I went, I think, probably through a deep depression for maybe a year and a half before I was able to find my way out of it. And then lo and behold, I'm back to being me.
Yeah.
And having a great time.
Al, tell us about 3-ring service.
Well, 3-ring service. I started that with two other friends in 1978. And what happened is we used to throw these great parties. One of my roommates at the time worked at Brackenridge, so he had a line on all the nurses.
Right.
And so we started throwing these parties, and I'm making margaritas and pina coladas, and everybody's having a ball. I'm working my chops off. I said, somebody should start a business. We should get paid to do this. And the zeitgeist, I think, was right, because there was a company called Rentienta out of L.A. and Eastern Onion.
Okay.
So the zeitgeist was the right time. And so we started it. We started doing, I had a one-line ad in the newspaper, Gorilla for hire.
Okay.
And my partner at the time, he didn't even need a suit. but anyway, so we started with he would be the gorilla, and I was the trainer, and I played the clarinet.
Okay.
So I would play the clarinet and play Happy Birthday and stuff like that, and interpret gorilla language for him. So we started with that, and then we went into singing telegrams.
Now, I believe I saw a picture of you in a turkey outfit. What's that all about?
I know about humiliation.
I had to do that too.
Yeah, you had to do it too. Yeah. Well, we did a PSA some years ago about name calling, and back then, and I guess in the 70s, late 70s, if you called somebody a turkey, that would say, it's bad. And so they made a turkey suit for me, and when it was all said and done, I kept the turkey suit.
I saw it.
And my brother was a comedy writer, so he helped write jokes for me.
Yeah. So
I was a clarinet playing turkey, and I flew all the way in from Cuero to be with people. And if they were nice to me, I'd let them hold my giblets. So it was that kind of stuff.
Man, sure.
And so we did that, and then we started, branching out. We got calls for like casino tables, and
they say you had the first bounce house.
I don't know that I had the first bounce,
I looked it up, but I do know, knowing you, and I think when I first got back into the picture and we crossed paths, I was able to, be a part of 3-ring service.
That's right.
And I ran across a bounce house that was sitting up in the rafters. They told me that was the first one.
It was the first one that I had,
Okay.
I mean, it was all, I didn't know anything about it, but we started doing that, and then we started doing casino parties, and then I got that bounce house, or moonwalk we called it.
Yeah.
And that opened up carnival stuff like that. So at the height, I mean, we were approaching probably $1 million business.
Yeah.
And we started doing the rides down at Pecan Street.
Exactly.
In fact, some years, I kept the fact that I was in Chainsaw on the QT, especially when I was working at MHMR. I didn't want them to know I'm in this crazy movie about crazy people and cannibals. But somebody leaked it at one of the things that I was doing at the carnival. And I remember a kid coming up to me, and I'm in this box, a real box.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it was air conditioned, but selling tickets.
Right.
And the kid said, weren't you in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre? And I said, yes, but listen, stay in school and get your GED,
Right.
so you don't end up like me.
Okay.
You know, a carny in a box
Right,
down
right,
by the
right.
river.
Wow.
You know, so. But it's all been good, and now.
Magical ride.
Yeah.
I know, because, I mean, you know, Pecan Street, it's been around for a long time, and I think, hell, man, that's twice a year. That's 30-something years, 32 years, I believe I looked up, 32, 33 years. That's with 64 appearances. Man, I don't think a lot of people knew that all the Ferris wheels and all the stuff was yours. You know, that was 3 Ring Circus.
Well, there was a fella before me, and I purchased a lot of that equipment. But now, hopefully, I think I will be a guest of honor at Pecan Street this coming May.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a long way, you know, from a carny, you know, whatever,
Sure, man,
sitting
sure.
in a box to hopefully people coming out to see me.
Yeah.
And I've got memorabilia, and I've got T-shirts, and I've got all kinds of
We
stuff.
know, Al, you got
I have my own talking
Yeah, I know
bobblehead.
that. And you know, Al, I mean, and like I say, I mean, you know, I brought you in, man, because I mean, you know, I've watched you grow in the last, you know, 3, 4, 5 years, and
I'm still a munchkin, so I can't grow that
It's an
much.
amazing transformation, you know. And that's why I really wanted to get you in here, and that's just to let everybody know, man, he's still alive and well, even more so than most people imagine, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of the actors from the original Chainsaw, they're gone.
Sadly to say, in fact, you know, Gunner, who played Leatherface, I really didn't know until after the movie was over.
Right.
You know, in some ways, I think Toby. It was maybe smart on us, kept us apart, so there was that kind of antagonism. But after the movie was over, we became great friends. In fact, he stayed with me this summer before he moved to Maine, and he was just this gentle giant, very bright,
Very nice guy.
bright,
Very nice guy.
And so, you know, over the years, we lost Gunner, and then Paul Partain, who played Franklin. You know, the guy.
Right.
I mean, the guy in a wheelchair, and people hated him. You know, that's kind of a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, to hate a guy in a wheelchair, and we all hated him.
He had heat,
But
though. He was good.
He was great. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
Because I met him after. He also was the nicest guy,
Yeah.
but he died of cancer. Bob Burns, who did the props, also gone. You know, and then Jim Sedow, you know, the cook,
Right.
gone. The kind of troll-looking guy that did the. In fact, that scene at the gas station, I like to tell, is one of my favorite scenes, because if you remember when we pull into the gas station, and then Jim Sedow comes over and said, "We got no gas."
Right.
And during one of the takes, as Jim Sedow was coming, you know, to talk to us, I inadvertently hit the windshield wiper blades. And so it splashed all this dirty, soapy water on Jim Sedow's face. He's trying to deliver his lines, and soapy, dirty water.
You're messing up the action.
I'm done. You know, and Bill Vale was in there. We both lost it. Take after take, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
In fact, it got to a point where Toby got so mad, he walked off the set, and Kim Hinkle, who wrote most of the movie, he had to finish it up. So, but that's still one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and a story that I'll tell, because I really took. When I left for Texas, my mother didn't want me to go, because my brother and my dad was a cantor in a synagogue, and so they were very religious folks.
Sure.
But we grew up, we weren't, and my brother married out of his religion, or converted to Judaism. And when my mother said, "Lightning doesn't strike twice," and it happened again.
Right.
So my parents actually disowned me for a couple of years, until Jason was, I think, about 2 or 3, and then through intermediaries, we kind of got it worked out.
Together.
And my parents came down to Texas to visit, and I remember we were at a pool, you know, sunbathing and whatnot, and my dad had all this gray hair. I mean, he was in the 60s, and my wife at the time, Sharon, you know, just remarked, she said, "Gee, Mr. Danziger, all this gray hair that you have." is that from the son? And my dad didn't miss a beat, looked at her and said, from two sons. I'll never forget that. In December, I was just happening to scroll through. They've got all these different chainsaw fan pages, and I'm just scrolling, just killing time. And I see a picture of a van, and I said, "Gee, that looks." And the comment was, "That looks like the van from the original Chainsaw."
The one you drove in the movie.
Yeah, that I drove in, because it's got the sliding door.
Right.
And there's a phone number on the van.
Okay.
So I said, "What the hell? What do I got to lose? I'm sure it's not even available." So I call, and the fella answers the phone, and I said, "Who am I speaking with?" He says, "My name is Scott Key." And I said, "Are you serious? Are you can't, no, this is too much. Are you any relationship to Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner?" He says, "As a matter of fact, he was my great uncle."
Wow.
So I said, "That van, by any chance, do you still have it?" He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Well, then," and he's in South Dakota.
Okay.
He's in South Dakota. I said, "Well, I was the one that drove the van in the movie. I guess I got to get it."
You got to get it.
So he told me the price, and I said, "Well, I think I can do it. I got to figure out how am I going to get it here." And there's all these companies, and it's very expensive to do it. So I said, "Could you do it for this?" And we worked it out. And he said, "Yeah, and I'll bring it to you." So he brought it down in December, and it's at my mechanic's now, and we're going to do a full restoration.
Right.
Paint it, put the blood stain on, and we'll be rolling along singing a song.
So we're gonna see Chainsaw Jerry
back
driving around with the van. That's a lot of people up, big guy.
50 years later, it'll be the geezer version.
They'll think they're
Redux.
seeing things. They'll think they're seeing things.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's not going to be. It won't be Memorex. That's
No,
for sure.
but I've got the bell bottoms.
Oh, I know.
I've got a shirt of similar. I got the retro glasses.
Yeah.
The hair. What can I say?
Wow.
I try to wig, it don't work.
Well, that'll work out. It seems like that'll work out perfectly because you'll be able to take that to the show.
To some of the shows, yeah. I'll either drive it or trailer it or whatnot. Yeah.
Man, that's going to be a big thing. That'll be a big thing. I tell you, Al, you've had a really interesting life.
So far.
But it seems like there's going to be a lot more to come.
We'll see.
With the movie business going the way it is, the theaters, they're starting to go back to where they are. But a lot of people are still watching this stuff on TV. And yes, more and more people are opening up the convention centers. I'm excited for the at the end of the month because we do have the Cult Classic coming out in Bastrop, and I've always had a good time when I went to those things, man.
Yeah,
It's just amazing. I pick up some memorabilia. I'm a big collector myself,
Right.
So but do you know who they're going to be having at this one this year?
There'll be several of us from the original and from Chainsaw 2. It's going to be, and then there's some others people, I don't really know, but it's going to be a lot of good people. I think it's going to be probably one of the best ones that he's had in a long time.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody comes out.
Well, I'm going to be pushing it. I'm sure we've got our fans our viewers that watch the Wake Up Call, and we'll be able to push some stuff out on that. Let me ask you one more important question. If you had to tell anybody about the Wake Up Call, if you had to give anybody a piece of advice for doing what you did, coming out of what you came out of, what would you say, Al?
Learn from your mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to go through pain if you realize that there's always, you can come out the other side, and it's not all bad.
Yeah.
That even tough times you learn from, and you grow stronger. So I know there's a lot of people, especially with COVID, and having the mask and social isolation, and I think there's been an uptick in suicides, and there's a fellow, he's a congressman, Raskin. He lost his son during this stuff, and that's some awful stuff.
It's tough. Times are changing.
But you just gotta move on. That's the most hurtful is to lose a child, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, the COVID thing and just life in general. Everything's moving in different directions. So we definitely got to keep a good attitude. I know when I get out there on the streets, I try to make somebody smile each and every day. I know that when people hear about hammer time, we're trying to keep this down to a minimum, because I know when me and you get together, we crack up. We cut up, man. That's just the way it's supposed to be. But I know one thing, man. I've known you for quite some time. I have the best of times with you. Man, we always talk about some crazy stuff. And I mean, it's been a blessing to my life. You've helped me. You've inspired me.
Vice versa.
Man, I mean, you know, I don't know what I would have done without you. So
well, you've been my biggest fan. You know, when times have been tough.
Yeah.
I remember you sitting down with me and say, "Hey, you can do it." And so
man. You did more than just do it. Yeah. I know this. I know the screening is at the Alamo tomorrow.
Tomorrow
correct?
night. But Saturday is, I think, open to the public, so they're invited to come out. It'll be like festival or fiesta seating, and I'll be out there with Ed, the hitchhiker, Neil, signing autographs and selling tea. Hopefully, you know, because all the money I'm getting is going into restoring the van. Right. You know, so
the van. I'm excited about the van, because I mean that's going to be a big thing.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be a real big thing. I know. There's one in existence out at the gas station. But it's not
the same thing.
It's not going to have the driver driving.
No, and it's not going to have the door. It's not going to have the door.
Yeah, I'm hearing stuff about merchandise wagon and bobblehead.
Well, you know, in fact, he's got a chair, metal chair, and it's got all the people that have passed away. And then next is the coming attractions, and it's my name is on my face is on the coming attractions.
Okay. Wow. Who would have ever thought, Al?
Go figure. You
man.
never know. Life is funny.
In the main, and you know, I know that it tickles me because, I mean, I'll just be upfront with you. We all have our days, you know. We all have our days. And while we all make it look good, most people don't understand that, you know.
Behind the curtain.
The smoke and mirrors. It's amazing. But, and I know I probably shouldn't tell you this because it'll make your head even bigger than what it already is. But when I have those days, I come in here, I spin the chair around and hit that little button. And I got to remember, you just can't be out there goofing.
No. Quit playing games. Stop. Quit goofing on me, you know. Well, I tell you, Al, with that being said, I'm really glad we could get you in the box. You have any questions for me, Al? No. I just hope, you know, the 10 or 15 listeners, you know, get to hear it.
You know, Al, I tell you, if we can bring some people in here, interesting folks, that can share their stories, their wake-up call, and we can change one out of my 2 followers' lives,
right?
Man, we've done some things, Al.
I'm all for it.
I mean, you know.
I'm all for it.
Sometimes they got to start without me, but hey,
hey.
I stole that one from Allen Danziger, by the way. He's got a copyright on that. But, Al, I really appreciate you coming in.
Glad to had a good time.
I mean, I know the fans are going to, you know,
I hope so.
They'll bomb us on this one. Everybody knows you're going to be at Alamo Draft House tomorrow night. You'll be out at the Cult Classic out in Bastrop at the end of the month. I believe that's the 27th, 28th.
Yeah. And then hopefully this Saturday, it should be a nice day. And if people haven't ever been to the house where the magic happened, it's a beautiful place.
Yes,
and the food is great there, and they'll have a good time.
I hear that we might have some talks about NFTs and some other things going on that everybody else is going on. Some Zoom things going on. Some
a later date.
Airbnbs going on. We got a whole bunch of stuff in the pipe. So all I'm going to do is say Stay hungry, tuned. Al. Stay tuned. Keep doing what you're doing.
Stay happy.
Because we know it's getting ready to be hammer time.
You got it, buddy.
Al, thanks a lot,
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.